Good day, good afternoon, good night. How you doing? This is MCM and you're listening to You're Probably Right. Today we are going to have a serious conversation. Well, maybe not a serious conversation, but there's going to be a serious talk happening here. Now, of course, I'm only doing the talking, but just stay tuned. Hey, what's up, y'all? It's MCM. And you're listening to You're Probably Right podcast. Now, I just wanted to let you know and remind you that this podcast is for entertainment purposes only. Happy you dropped in. You know, it's funny because, I never know who's listening. And I get this funny feeling that I won't even say it. Oh, of course I'll say it. That's the good thing about being me and having this podcast. Sometimes I get the feeling that my family members are listening to this podcast and judging me. And that's okay. Whether you're near, whether you're far. Maybe you learn something, maybe you won't. But as I said before, this podcast is for entertainment purposes only. And I'd like to say hello to my first-time listeners, my sometimes listeners, my last-time listeners, and my fair weather friends, and all in between. Today we are going to try to get into talking about some dude stuff. But it kind of concerns everybody. Because sometimes dudes are not allowed to be dudes. Anyhow, more specifically, I guess. Welcome to episode 130. 130. I'm really tongue-tied today. 183 of You're Probably Right. Manhood Under the Microscope. Navigating judgment in modern society. In a world where traditional values are increasingly questioned, and masculinity is often labeled as toxic, how does a man hold on to his identity, his beliefs, and his purpose? This episode is for the men judged harshly for their values and the women who want, to understand what it's like to navigate these pressurous days. Pressurous. Is that a word? Today, we're diving into the social double standards, the struggle for respect, and the misconceptions about traditional manhood. If you've ever felt out of place for being who you are, this one's for you. And if you've ever been out of place or felt out of place because you're making somebody else feel that way, well, this one's for you also, I guess. So, what does it mean to be a man in today's society? This episode unpacks the harsh judgment men face, double standards, and the challenges of living by traditional values. All right, so let's get into it. I'm going to answer some questions. Again, like if you don't know. I'm hitting these questions right off the bat. Boom. I've never seen them before. And so they're as fresh to me as they are to you. Except I'll be fresher. Yeah, it's a bad joke. All right, here we go. What does it mean to you, obviously to me, to you, to be a traditional man? And how does that conflict with modern society and the expectations of masculinity? Well, I believe that a man is supposed to work, provide, supposed to protect, work. And if you're a Christian, be obedient to the word of God. That simple. Yes, you should cherish your wife And if you have a wife, should be cherished as the weaker vessel, meaning that she is obviously more fragile. She is not as strong. She is not built for the same type of work. She needs someone who's going to be there for her, going to be strong, caring, resourceful, and pretty much that's it. I mean, there's other stuff, but that's our main thing, is to work, provide, protect. Everything else is a plus. But of course, life in this world has changed, and there's a lot of more feminine things put on men these days. I don't know. I don't feel so eloquent today, but that's basically the gist of it. So there's societal pressures for men not to say certain things. If you're not in agreement with most of the way society is run these days, then you are seen as toxic. You are seen as what's that word? Gaslighting. Always. If you're in disagreement with the way that people are deciding to kind of run this world these days. Next question. I don't even know if I answered that properly, to tell you the truth. But a traditional man opens the door. A traditional man fixes things around the house. A traditional man is the one who shovels the snow, cuts the grass, lays down the coat if there's a puddle and you just can't get over it. I don't know if that's going to happen with the coats prices these days. But just all of the traditional stuff that I guess you would see in a 1950s movie or 40s movie, minus the Stetson and the trench coat, I guess. Stetson? Fedora. There you go. But you know what I mean. Maybe you don't. You should. How do you respond to the claim that traditional gender roles are outdated or harmful in today's society? So many people say that traditional roles are not there anymore. Men and women are equal in the home. And I believe that we are equal, but it tells in the scriptures, it tells man to rule his home. It tells a woman that she should look up to her husband. A husband is like her Lord. And I mean, I know a woman's not these days not going to call her husband Lord, but basically how the church looks up to Christ is the way a wife is supposed to look up to her husband. And if something happens, or if a threat happens, he is to lay down his life for her and do whatever he can to provide and do what he can to protect. The decisions will be made by both, but at the end of the day, he should have the last say as to what the family is going to be doing, whether that's buying a 5,000 square foot home or buying a 2,500 square foot home, because that's what he can afford with the job that he has. And everybody should be content with that. Children should obey their parents, and at the end of the day, yes, children must obey their mother and their father, but at the end of the day, the father should have the say so. And unfortunately, a lot of guys are ending up single now because a lot of women don't go for that anymore. And I know that a lot of guys are now softening up and they're kind of fluid. They kind of go with the flow as well. You see a lot of women driving buses now, delivering packages now, doing a lot of stuff that women didn't do before. The joke is, in society, depending on the age, I guess, a lot of guys wouldn't go for a lot of women who are doing a lot of men jobs. Women who are acting like they don't need a man. Women who act like they're self-sufficient. Acting like men are only sperm donors, or just a means to the end, and to an end, and they have the choice to jump from this relationship to that relationship. Certain things haven't changed, but I mean, with society and men in women's sports and, that whole kerfuffle, I guess men have been silent, and feministic, feminine women have gone silent as well, and it's just been a free for all, and an attack on men and attack on women. First, it was an attack on men, and then on women, and things seem like they're going to be in a little lull for a while, depending on who is the head of, America or the North American countries. I'm sure that'll probably change again soon, but who knows who's there right now, right? This is evergreen, so it could be anybody. But the bottom line is, what I'm trying to say is, I like traditional roles. I think that they make more sense. Being who a man is, being stronger, generally being more resourceful and practical with his hands, hopefully not led by his emotions in every which way. But there's been so much tainting of society and families that sometimes guys don't even know if they're going or they're coming, in this way. And gender roles have been switched all over the place. You'll see women cutting the grass now, taking out the garbage, going to work and picking up the kids at daycare and coming home and feeding the kids. Or you'll see the men doing every last thing, and women taking daily naps and not going to work and not doing anything around the house, and everything's just kind of all over the place. It's like, it's just a choose your own adventure, and do whatever you can do, to whatever you can get away with, you should do it, or whatever it is. It's kind of a strange world, and at the same time, a lot of chivalry is still expected, I notice, even though these gender roles have changed. And if a guy's running at you and your husband, women will run behind her husband to protect him. But there's many things that men are expected to do that women used to do. And I've also realized that you could bend over backwards as much as you want for a woman. Call her your wife. You could prepare every meal. Matter of fact, you can go buy the meal. You can do the grocery shopping. You can do all the laundry. You can take all the hard hits financially. You could defer the decision making as far as where you're going to live, what furniture you're going to buy, what clothes you're going to wear, how you're going to cut your hair, and a whole host of things. And you'll end up with zero respect, making no decisions, losing all your power. And unfortunately, or fortunately, well, yes, it is a power and control thing, even though people think that's somehow negative. But you should be ruling your home, not your wife. I know it's gonna be slipped, but you should be making the decisions. You decide what woman you're gonna marry. Don't let a woman decide for you that you're gonna be married to them, because at the end of the day, you're also going to lose decision-making possibilities, and heaven forbid you move into a woman's house. Because you definitely can be asked to leave at any time. Guys will take the hit. In most cases, men will leave the home and leave the home with nothing if you split up. If you don't behave in a certain way, then intimacy goes out the window, and there's no such thing as demanding that from your wife, because apparently in this society that's not owed to you. That's if she feels like it. And there's so many things that have changed, not necessarily for the better, not necessarily for the better of men or women. Again, usually these things affect men first, and then they affect women, and hence that's how we have the men in women's sports. And I know that's kind of a dumbed down simplifying type of way, the way I've explained a lot of this stuff. But if you don't believe me, you can Google it. You can check it out, or you can ask your friends. There's so many people fighting for so many different things now. We're fighting in a whole bunch of different directions, and it seems like that's what the name of the game is these days, is to be divided on everything that was so settled on back in the day. Do you believe there is a double standard in how men and women are judged for expressing emotions, and how does this affect men? Double standard. Well, I know, guys are supposed to be stoic, right? Women are supposed to be unstable, and Lord help you if you call women crazy, but a lot of guys do in various situations. But women lose respect for a man that expresses emotions too hard and cries. He's seen as unattractive. Not supposed to be too talkative. You're supposed to be there to learn and to hear and to understand a woman's feelings. But as soon as you start to share or overshare too much, you're going to be judged. That's just a fact. That's just the fact of the matter. So, you got to hold something in the back of your hand. You know what I mean? Like, don't show your whole hand. They say. I'm not necessarily saying you need to deny when you've done something wrong, but if you give everything, trust me, everything will be used against you in the court of home law at some point. I know you'll find that spot, whether it's on a late night, on a pillow talk, or wherever you've been lulled into giving your 100% idea and thoughts. And when an argument comes, if something wasn't cool, whatever you said will be taken personally, and it will be used against you in an argument. Men. How do you reconcile your Judeo-Christian values with society that often promotes values contrary to them? I don't have to reconcile it. I just know that what's in the Bible is fact, is truth. It is words to live by, and that's what I live by. And I can tell you that there was a time when I felt like I couldn't, They're pushing all these new age narratives down your throat, telling you about how many genders there are and who we need to make room for, and how many things that you used to celebrate or used to do in your spare time or on the Lord's day. There's so many things that have been like just kind of pushed to the side, like they don't exist, or like they were like planned from the devil, by the devil from hell, and all kinds of nonsense. And I've noticed that a lot of that has been walked back. Not before ruining a lot of people's lives, though. Why do you think masculinity is often labeled as toxic? And how would you redefine masculinity? Well, I wouldn't redefine it. It's just masculine to be able to lift 200 pounds. Now, yes, a woman can train to lift 200 pounds as well, and there's many men who can't. But in general, that's something that most guys can do. It might not be welcoming to women doing whatever, wherever, whoever they want. There needs to be limits to it. But of course, society thinks that everything goes for everybody. And that's why everything's remade in a weird way nowadays. It goes down straight through, for whatever reason, through Hollywood. The stories, because these people are smart. They know that a lot of learning is done through stories. the stories that families used to tell their kids, and lessons, cultural lessons that were taught to the children, knowing how to behave, knowing how to um, make decisions in life, were taught through stories from generation to generation. So Hollywood has picked that up, obviously, and they'll remake stories like whatever story. They'll throw a whole bunch of DEI in it. You'll see black people in shows and in movies that they never were meant to be in. You'll see Denzel Washington as a bisexual deviant in Roman times with a New York accent. You'll see a lot of stuff. Wicked Witch of the West is black now and she's green, and it's just like a whole bunch of different things that they've created to destroy things. You'll have people arguing and say, why weren't there more black people on the show Seinfeld or Friends? As if black people were in every neighborhood in the United States and Canada. Like, just the stuff that you see and the stuff that you hear, and things are being changed, and most of the people who could do something don't know enough to do something. Most of them just kind of step to the side. We live in society in neighborhoods where they were pretty multicultural, but there were white people there. You'll now go into places in the GTA where there will not be a single white person on the street because everybody's gone up to the north and the east. And but yet we're dealing with the same issues, but people are quiet. You go into a workplace and you'll have people who are of Euro descent, Canadians, who can't find jobs or can't find full-time jobs because the DEI is taking over, and black people and women and brown women and Asian men and whatever have to be given these jobs, and they're filling these quotas based on people's culture and based on the color of their skin. It's absolutely ridiculous. But who was it brought on by? I'll leave that up to you to judge. But when you have the side conversations with people, most agree. But there's certain people that are scared to say anything. And it's like reverse discrimination is happening left, right, and center. And everybody's scared to say anything. I know I made that about culture and race, but it's the same thing with masculinity. If you say anything that sounds a little bit too masculine, something that you would have said maybe in the 80s or something that you would have said in the 50s, you'll be ostracized, canceled, and seen as toxic. And that's just the way it is now in society. What are some of the misconceptions women might have about men relationships, especially when judged from a leftist or liberal worldview? That men only want one thing. That men love pretty hourglass shaped women. That men are okay with bargaining for sex in the marriage. That everybody has the same rights in a marriage and everybody can do whatever they want in a marriage. And it's trickling down to the kids now too, earlier than before. You know, one thing that guys want in their house more than anything is respect. Yeah, guys want to be loved, cared for, catered to, but we don't want to live with another guy as a wife. Of course, I'm speaking about a heterosexual man in a Christian background also. We don't want to compete with you unless it's something for jokes or for fun. We don't want to get physical to see, who's stronger. Unless, of course, it's just for jokes. Because we all know who is in most cases. A lot of the time men cheat in marriages. It's not because they're finding prettier women. A lot of the time when men cheat in marriages, it's because the one that they have refuses to hold up her end of the bargain. The one he's with a lot of the time tries to barter and make a compromise for something that is supposed to be given. And a lot of the time women think that's it and they can do that and just put on some sexy lingerie and a guy's turned on and all kinds of nonsense. That's not the way it goes. Not after you've been with the woman for a while. Eventually something has to change. It's sad that women don't know, and they take it personally. They take it as a personal insult if you're not even ready to go and everything's just here we are and I'm a dead fish and do what you gotta do. And it's like it's like the Color Purple movie, and that's not how a guy's mind works at all. At the end of the day, a guy doesn't want to be with somebody who doesn't want to be with them. I know that most women think that guys are just cavemen and club you over the head and pick you up and take you back to the cave, but it's not so. Not decent men anyway. How do you handle being judged for holding traditional views, especially in spaces dominated by progressive ideologies? I make my statements personally. I say what I'm going to say. Of course, you still have to watch it, or it'd be a crap show if you just start blurting out a bunch of stuff. But I am a person who tends to speak my mind and say what level I'm on, and that's generally where you hear a lot of people agreeing with you. They just won't do it in public in front of each other. And of course, you always have a few stick in the muds, a few people towing the line who will say, all I care about is the environment and this, that, and the other, and conserving this and green that. But when it comes down to it, a lot of the people who profess that stuff don't even know what it means. How does society focusing on equality often lead to overlooking the unique challenges men face? Well, equality, I think everybody wants a fighting chance. I think everybody wants an opportunity to do something, but nobody wants a handout. Generally, you want to work for something. You want to know that you are worthy of the job and the paycheck that you get. Not that you're just getting it because you're a certain color. Not getting it just because you are a man, you're able to lift this. But, at the same time, yes, because you're a man and because you can lift this. You have two people doing the same job and one person having to do more to help the other person, let's say physically, because the other person physically can't do it. but yet they're given the same job and the same pay, or they're complaining about not getting the same job and the same pay. It's not easy being a man these days, because a lot of manliness has been stripped away. And you looked at crossways if you decide to do some of the usual holding the door open or lifting something or whatever it is, and people want you to ask them if they need help instead of just helping. You can't just take the initiative anymore. It's like cut out of society. Forget about initiative. You might offend somebody for helping them. What message would you want to share to young men who feel confused or lost in defining their identity in today's world? Honestly, I would say read the Bible. More than probably even your fathers of this day. If you read the Bible, you'll get a clear view of how you're supposed to be, of how you're supposed to act. There's so many people who are tainted by society's expectations, when society's expectations don't make any sense, and society is starting to figure that out. Anyhow, this is a short one today, guys. And I know that it was a lot of rambling on today, but I'm still going to put this one in the can anyway. Being a man in today's world isn't about fitting in anyone's box. It's about knowing who you are, what you stand for, and how you show up for those around you. Masculinity doesn't have to be toxic, and traditional values aren't relics of the past. They are a reality of today and tomorrow. They're a choice, a conviction, and for many of us, a calling. If you're judged for being who you are, let this be a reminder. Stay true to your values, because the world needs men who know what they stand for. Traditional masculinity in this modern society. Anyhow, I'm not sure how many people are going to really understand where I was coming from, because I'm not even sure where I understood where I was coming from. There's so many things that I needed to say, but I don't think I even scratched the surface of this one. So I reluctantly end this podcast episode. This is MCM, and you're listening to You're Probably Right. See you next time, okay? Take care. Oh yeah, before I go, remember, if you have any questions you want to ask, or maybe have a topic that you want me to talk about, you can email me at yprpodcast@gmail.com. Take care. Hey, come check out You're Probably Right podcast. Society is getting more unpredictable every day, but at the same time, predictable in its unpredictability. Say that 4 times real fast. Come with me as I attempt to find clarity in all the fog while staying way outside the box and kicking the box way down the road with my size 12 ducks. I use the Bible, experience, education, fortune, misfortune, life's lessons, life's mistakes to sort through all the mess. I talk about news, God, God, self-help, sports, sickness, health, music, parenting, love, humbleness, hurt, pain, joy, and all the things that might make you say, I never thought of it that way. Hopefully, anyway. Also, I take a stab at answering tough and not so tough questions, and all the while understand that, listen, sometimes you end up in the hot seat and there's no thermostat. Well, that's how it is here. And because there's no topic, very few topics off the table, Torontonians will understand that Doug Ford reference there. Hopefully the podcast will be helpful and uplifting. And hey, maybe you'll find your own private Idaho here somewhere. Hope to see you soon.